All right, greetings everybody, and welcome to week number 6. That is right, week number 6 of your 9489 class, which is your cultural heritage class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Austin. And what we are going to be doing this week is a quick state of the course update, and then I'm going to well, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about something. We will see. It's just going to flow as I go. So let's just strap in for the adventure, I guess. I don't know. All right. But yeah, first let's go with the state of the course update. First of all, I do apologize for those of you who do like the check-in videos and want the check-in videos. And I've been surprised in the past with students who would actually be disappointed if I didn't have a check-in video during the week. They'd be like, and it was not a sync session week. They'd be like, hey, no check-in video. And that's actually very flattering. It's very ego boosting for me because I'm like, oh, well, the students want to, I've got at least one student who wants to hear from me. And that's actually a really, really good feeling. So having said that, yes, if anybody was disappointed that there was no check-in video last week, I do apologize for that. There was, with the snow and everything, there is a lot going on in my personal life, in everybody's personal life. So I don't want to, make this all about me, but I will say that on top of everything else that was going on, having my daughter at home most of the week because of the snowstorm and the schools being closed, that was, it was fun for me because I love spending time with my daughter. But it was also, she's 4. So as you can imagine, that made less time for me to work and do the things that I needed to do from the zoo. And one of the things that had to go last week was the check-in video, but I am back this week. So, first of all, yes, you all should have turned in, unless I granted you an extension, you should have turned in your site visit paper. Now, having said that, I am, for those of you who could not go to your site because of snow, I do want you to go to the site that you want to go to. So, just if you have not turned that in yet because of the snow, and then it snowed again this past week, so you couldn't go again this past week, try to go this week. There is no snow predicted. In fact, it should be for them in like Kansas City and St. Louis and Springfield. I believe it's supposed to be in the 40s and 50s throughout the week. So you shouldn't have to worry about snow, and that should not be preventing you from doing what you need to do. Hold on one second. Let me check this. Sorry, sometimes I just like to check when I get a text to make sure it's not something really important, and that was not. But anyway, I did want to check. So, yes, there should be no snow in the forecast for this week. So weather hopefully should not be preventing you all from going and doing your site visit this week if you have not turned that assignment in. But for those of you who have turned the assignment in, thank you, and I will be getting those graded as soon as I possibly can. But I did mention early on, I think in that first check-in video, that things start getting a lot busier as March approaches. And so, yes, I am now at that point in the semester where things are starting to get a lot busier. That includes at this point, e-portfolio grading will start soon, registration will start soon, and admissions will start soon. And I have additional job duties that come on me when those things come about. And then also, my third class this semester is an 8-week class. That's going to start in mid-March, so I need to start prepping that class now. That's going to be my business class. So all of that to say, yeah, things are getting busy for Dr. Jace, and so it might take me a longer time to grade or something like that. I appreciate your patience in advance. All right, so moving right along. Now, I do want you all who have not turned in your site visit paper yet because of the weather to know that you are not going to, I am not pushing back other assignments for you. So yes, your site visit, I will push that back because of the weather and everything, but just know that if your site visit ends up being pushed back right to the point where you're pushing it back right before the due date of another assignment, I'm not extending that other assignment's due date for you. Okay, so budget your time appropriately. As far as what your next assignment is, and that is something that would be good for me to know and to tell you all at this, you don't really have a full-blown paper or a quiz until April. You do have your midterm quiz, which is actually really easy on April the 6th. That should be 4 easy points. And you will have your 4 top most important cultural heritages of a community paper due in on April the 13th. So you don't have a paper that's due in March, but what you do have is you do have at the end of March. Well, first of all, I do need to make it clear that you do have another sync session. Sync session number 2 will be on March 12th. So we're looking at approximately 3 weeks from now. So you've got that going on, and we'll be hosting Stuart Hines, and he's going to talk about GLAMA, which is the Gay Lesbian Archive of Mid-America, how that started and what it does and those sorts of things. You're going to hopefully enjoy that presentation. And also you will have your mini interview with a cultural heritage worker due at the end of March. You still got a month from that, and so I'm not actually going to talk about that in this check-in video because I'm sure that you all are not going to start on that now. Now, I do want to say that I gave you all until March, and I am giving you all until this coming weekend. So this coming weekend, I'm giving you all basically until March the 2nd to decide whether or not you want to do a heritage project. I can extend that due date a little further if people decide, hey, I'm still on the fence. If you all email me and say, hey, I'm still on the fence about that, Dr. Jace, I don't know if I want to do the final paper or if I want to do a heritage project. If you're still on the fence, then by all means, tell me that, and I may extend into mid-March or something like that. But I originally said you had until the beginning of March, meaning March the 2nd, Sunday, to let me know if you'd like to do some sort of heritage project instead of the final paper. And I think I've only gotten like 5 requests. So that's not very many of you. I was hoping for more, but if you want to do the paper, that is fine too. I do give you that option. But be mindful that you need to decide on that this week unless I extend it. Okay? And I think that's for the most part all you need to know as far as state of the course updates. I do want to say that now we are getting into the individualized content. You got your base content in these first 5 weeks. You learned about what is cultural heritage and some key cultural heritage and preservation concepts and concerns in the first 2 weeks. And then in weeks 3, 4, and 5, you learned about first landscape heritage and then tangible and then intangible. So we've gone through all of those places, right? And so now we are breaking down into different types of cultural heritage, and the learning from here on out shouldn't be as heavy or as dry. I think things get more interesting from here on out. But I will say that y'all have had some very interesting discussion board activity and that sort of thing. So actually, I'm not knocking you all at all. I think that if you all have not been interested in the course content so far, I've not been able to tell. And that's been a good thing. So this week we get into music. And so there are a few things that I want to talk about related to this week's module. So let me get into that. So music is a form of intangible cultural heritage, even though the instruments themselves are tangible cultural heritage, and then also sheet music and those sorts of things, recording media, that's tangible cultural heritage. But the music itself, intangible cultural heritage, okay? What I want you all to be aware of as you are going through this. First of all, there was no way for me to really make this equitable the way that I would really want to. Some of you have documentaries that are only 30 minutes long. Some of you have documentaries that are close to 2 hours long. There wasn't much that I could do about that, but if you find that your documentary is too long for what you can budget time for, then by all means you can email me and ask me, or message me and ask me to reassign you to something else. Or if you found something on your own that you would rather do, you can contact me and ask me for approval. Okay. But another thing that I want you all to know is that so originally there was a method to my madness. Originally, I tried to find just short music documentaries, and I just wanted them all to be short, basically, so that my students would not have to spend too much time. So I was originally, that first semester that I taught this class, I was that second semester that I taught the class, actually, because the first semester we didn't have the music module. The second semester I added the music module the next spring because students asked for one in my student evaluations, my teaching evaluations, so one was added. But the music module, I originally had documentaries that were like 20 to 30 minutes long because I was like, let me only find short things so that my students who I know are busy can just watch it and then move on. And then there were a lot of students who were like, well, the documentary was too short. I was looking at their discussion board responses, and some of them were saying, hey, this documentary is too short. It was, I didn't like it because it didn't really tell me too much. And so then I'm like, oh, well, I erred there. So then I started, adding some options for some longer ones and that sort of thing. And that's where we are. So you may also get a long one and still think, well, that was long, but it still rushed through and didn't teach me anything. So that is why you are going to do a review of your documentary and just give your honest opinion. Some of you are not going to like your documentary and some of you are. And I hope that it would be my goal. It would be my hope that all of you would like it. But, you know, that's just, unfortunately, the world's not perfect like that, right? Okay. So, but yeah, watch your documentary, review it. But again, if you are assigned something that you're not interested in, you can ask to be switched to something that's not taken. If you don't see a name beside something, it's not taken. So like New Atlantis African music documentary, if somebody wanted to switch to that, they could, or Puerto Rican culture through music, those sorts of things. If you want to switch to those, you can. And like, again, for those of you who are actually looking at like like if you got assigned something that's 2 hours and you're like, man, I hope for something that's just like an hour, then ask for reassignment. You can say, hey, I noticed that this African one is only an hour long. Can I be switched to that one? And I will grant that request as long as somebody doesn't beat you to it. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to say about that is that on the very rare occasion, and this has been very rare, but it has happened, I have had students who they found documentaries on their own and they wanted to do those. And this includes one student who found a documentary that she paid for. She was actually, because I'm trying to make this course as cheap for you all as possible. That's also why all of the readings are free. You don't have a textbook, blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't do any documentary. I didn't assign any documentary that was like available through Netflix or through Max or something that was paid. These are all available on YouTube or on Tubi or on some other free service. Okay. So she actually wanted, this student that I'm talking about from previous semester, she actually wanted to pay and do a paid documentary. It was about music in Springfield, and it did look very interesting. She was from Springfield and she was interested, and it did look interesting, but I wasn't about to pay for it, so I didn't. But she did, and she enjoyed it. Okay, so yeah, if you find something that you're interested in that you want to pay for, or something that's just out there that you are interested in, get approval from me first, because there are some things that I'm going to say, hey, that's not really fitting for the spirit of the assignment. For instance, if you do, like, don't get me wrong, the Rolling Stones are great, but if you found a Rolling Stones documentary, I'm not going to approve that, because even though there is a culture surrounding the Rolling Stones, and this gets into a lot of gray area there, but even though there is a culture surrounding the Rolling Stones, really what I'm going for is music that is produced by a culture, as opposed to focusing on a particular band or documentary focused on a particular person, right? Because I'm looking more at the cultural heritage aspects of this. I'm looking more at that being focused more on communities and on cultures that you'll find within communities. So I'm not really focused on the types of documentaries that talk about people as much, or that talk about specific people, specific bands as much, because it doesn't tie it to what I call placemaking. And placemaking is when heritage comes together to give a place its unique identity and that sort of thing. And I don't really feel, even though, I mean, especially in rap music, people are very proud of the places that they come from. Nelly talks about St. Louis, Jay-Z and Nas talk about New York. DJ Quick talks about Compton, all of those things, but that still doesn't really get into the placemaking aspect the way that the documentaries that I have here do. But if you, like, let's say you are from Tulsa, Oklahoma or something like that, and you find a documentary on Tulsa, Oklahoma's music history, by all means ask me about that, and I'm likely to approve something like that. Okay, so that is the high and the low and the gist of what we're doing here with the documentaries and this cultural heritage as music module. Okay. But I do think it's fair to kind of end the check-in video right here, because quite frankly, again, you all are going to be watching documentaries this week, so you have videos to watch this week. So I should give you the time to do that, and there'll probably be more substantial content in next week's check-in video. But I do think that this week's check-in video still helps you out, because it does contextualize what you're doing this week a little bit more. All right, but with that said, I am going to leave it there so that you can get started on reading and watching and reviewing, and I'm looking forward to your reviews. So with that said, I am Dr. Jace, and remember, if you are looking to do your own, if you are looking to sub out and do a different documentary, then make sure that your documentary ties the music to a place. Jace Place. I made my rhyme so I can go to sleep happy. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the discussion boards. All right.